Hey everybody, it's Bobby here again today with another great recipe for you. You know, we've been talking a lot in the past about how expensive groceries are right now. And if you have a family like I do, I got a family of 5, man, you go to the grocery store and it's so easy to spend $200 and you're back in the grocery store the next day or the day after that. And it seems to be it is a never ending thing. People just get hungry again and again. But today I want to share with you a good, hearty dish that's not going to break the bank, and it might also spread out over a couple of days for you. So it could be dinner tonight and lunch tomorrow and dinner again tomorrow night. So let's talk about it. It's my mama's goulash. It's one of the most wonderful meals that there is. It's one of my favorite meals. I tell y'all all the time that this is my birthday dish. So my birthday rolls around, my mother makes goulash for me, and I always love it. So my kids, in turn, love goulash too. And the good thing about it is you can make it your own. So the first time you do any recipe, as you know, make it exactly by the book. And then after that, make it your own. So if your kids don't like beef, you can use ground turkey, or you can use ground chicken. And if they don't like tomatoes, then you can use a beef bone broth, or you can toy with stuff. So I'm starting off with sauteed onion. The recipe is going to call for a couple of onions. Look, onions are giant, and Vidalia onions are on the shelf right now. So go with Vidalia sweet onions if you can. They just cook wonderfully and just add so much. But you might not need 2 onions. You know, this is one big onion. So use your judgment on that. And while I'm sauteing these onions, we'll go ahead and take one quick break, and then we'll come back and build our goulash. Okay, so the onions are looking really good. They're starting to glisten and getting soft, smelling really good. That smell, you know, when you've got Vidalia onions or any kind of sweet onion, in a pan with a little olive oil or butter, that is the base of so many good dishes. And like so many other good dishes, you build it from the bottom up and you season as you go along. And the goulash is no different. So my onions look great, so I'm going to go ahead and add to it a couple of pounds of ground beef. And we're going to brown this in the pan with the onions. And to that, we'll add a little bit of garlic. We'll add a little water if we need it. And we'll season it as we go along. Now, again, if you prefer something else, you could always go with ground turkey. I like to do a blend with my goulash also. So whenever I make goulash at home for my family, I might use ground beef and ground turkey, or ground chicken and ground bison and ground pork. That blend of meats gives you a wonderful flavor. To it, you might also use chicken stock. You might use a beef bone broth. All of these are really nice flavors that'll really help your goulash to pop. But this particular dish that I'm making today is going to be built to keep your budget intact. So you're going to go to the grocery store and you're going to buy all these items, and you won't have really taken a big hit. Ground beef you can get relatively inexpensively. The onions don't cost very much. We like to cook out of a can too. I don't mind this at all. So for our goulash, we're going to use tomato sauce, diced tomatoes out of the can. You don't have to use, my point is you can use grocery store brands, and they're often just as good. You really can't tell the difference. So I'm using the store brand, and you would never know that it wasn't one of the bigger brands on the shelf. So my ground beef is going to saute. My mom made goulash for me growing up, and when I tried to recreate it in my own home before I had a family, I would try, and each time it just wouldn't be very good. And I would call my mom every time and complain. I'd say, Mom, my goulash is just not as good as yours. What is wrong? And it always the same thing. Well, what did you do? Well, my onions and then my meat, and then I drained it. And she'd say, stop right there. Don't drain off the fat. There's not much. Now, this is a lean ground beef. But she said, don't drain off all that fat, because that's just extra flavor for the dish. And you know what? She's right. So I don't drain my meats anymore after I cook them. I use lean meats that don't render a whole lot of fat, and then I just leave it in there because that fat adds so much flavor to the recipe. So to my ground beef, I'll go ahead and add some Italian seasoning, because our version of goulash, don't think Hungarian because this is different. Our version of goulash is Italian flavored. So think spaghetti sauce, think glorified beefaroni. That's really what my mama's goulash is. I'm not going to add it all just yet. Just going to season as we go. And that already smells really, really good. Now we add the onions first, and the garlic we'll wait on. It's going to come a little bit later because garlic burns. These onions can take it. The garlic will burn, and we don't want that. So saute our ground beef. Got a few more minutes at this, so why don't we take one more break, and then we'll come right back. The ground beef looks great, and now I'm going to add to that my garlic. That comes late because, again, I don't want to burn it. And it smells great, and I can smell the Italian seasoning. And I didn't want to go too heavy on that. And I didn't go too heavy on that. Garlic smells so good already also. I'm going to add also a little bit of house seasoning. Because you want to make sure that your meat is seasoned. And again, you want to build it from the bottom up. It looks and smells divine. All right, now I've got that rolling pretty good. Now to this, I'm going to add my sauce and my diced tomatoes. And I've got a little water on standby. In case we're lacking in liquid, we can always add some water to it. Tomato sauce. And that'll cool your skillet a little bit too when you add that room temperature sauce to it. But it won't take long, it'll come back up. One more can of sauce. That thick and rich, tomatoey. Yeah. This is hearty and it stick to your ribs good. And again, the nice thing is, my kids anyway, they really, really love it. And they love the way it smells, the way it tastes. And they don't eat a whole lot yet. So it's always left over for the next day. And like many other recipes, this is even better the next day. After all those flavors have had a chance to marry. Reheat it on top of the stove the next day. And oh boy, does it really hit the spot. So some diced tomatoes. And always with your hearty dishes, like this, some bay leaves. You might think, oh, those things don't make a difference. Yes, they do. I have forgotten the bay leaves before in my goulash or in some certain just beefy, hearty dishes, and you can tell a difference. Those bay leaves add a really, really nice flavor to the dish. All right, so I've got one more can of diced tomatoes, and I've also got my water on standby, and we still have to get the elbow macaroni involved. But this is looking really, really good. We'll take another break, and then we'll come back and finish it up. This is looking and smelling really, really scrumptious. And it already tastes great. It's not over-seasoned, which is exactly what I want. So I know that I can afford to add a little bit more Italian seasoning. See, I didn't use it all. I don't ever dump all of my seasonings in at once because once you put it in there, there's no backing up. But you can always add a little bit more. So a little bit more seasoning. And on top of that, love this, some soy sauce. So if you're not a soy sauce fan, liquid aminos, there are coconut-based liquid aminos that sort of fit the bill and serve the same purpose, but they're not soy sauce. So there'd be no MSG, stuff like that, if you choose. But I used soy sauce. That'll add a nice flavor to it. So we're totally seasoned. Our pot is good and hot. We got a nice simmer going on it. Now to that, I'm gonna add our macaroni noodle, raw. Now there's a couple of different ways to do this. You could cook them al dente on the side in a pot and then add them, which I usually do at home. This takes longer, but you know, to each his own. So either way that you want to. So if you wanted to cook them al dente first and then add them, you could do that. If your goulash was thin, meaning it's got a lot of liquid in it, you could add some of your your pasta water to it to thicken it up a little bit, or a little tomato paste if you like. But to make sure that that macaroni noodle does not suck up all of our moisture, I'm gonna add just oh gosh, that looks so good. I'm gonna add just a little bit of water. Beautiful. And if we need more, we'll add it. But as of right now, I'm gonna turn this down to a simmer. I'm gonna put the lid on it, and I'm gonna let it do what it does. Voila. Beautiful. So good. So thick and rich and hearty. What a delicious and wonderful dish. The macaroni noodles that we added to it late in the game cooked up nicely. It took about, 40, 45 minutes for everything to really come together, and it looks so good and it smells so good. Let's just taste it, make sure I've got the seasoning right. That's a home run. It's a great dish. Your family's gonna love it. Mine does. Again, inexpensive, easy to put together. It'll last. It'll be tonight, tomorrow, the next day. You'll definitely get leftovers from it. Remember to take the bay leaves out. I'll tell you something funny. I made goulash at my house day before yesterday, and I served my children the goulash. And I asked my daughter, Amelia, I said, Amelia, do you like the goulash? Is it good that Dad made for you? And she said, I love it, Dad, but I don't like the leaves. I said, the leaves? What are you talking about? My child was doing her best to eat a bay leaf. I said, baby, good, I'm glad you don't like it. Those aren't to be eaten. So anyhow, it's funny. Remember to take the bay leaves out. That is a great dish. Make it at home right away. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Hey y'all, it's Paula Deen. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be alerted when I post a video. Love and best dishes, y'all.